Joining us tonight, the University of Toledo's Sam Nelson. He's an associate professor and chair of the Department of Political Science and Public Administration. Thank you, Dr. Nelson, for being here with us tonight. The emotions are still very raw, as you can see from that mom right there. Is there the political will right now for change that mom of Lori Alhadeff is demanding tonight?
Well, this isn't the first mass shooting that we've had. It's not the first one we've had in the last year, and we didn't see much political reaction after, say, the Las Vegas shooting, other school shootings. So I don't know. This one could be different. It could be the cumulative effect of a number of shootings that we start to see some pressure build for something more than thoughts and prayers.
Dr. Nelson, one thing that we immediately saw is the political lines already being drawn between Democrats and Republicans. Democrats calling for more gun control, and then Republicans, well, they seem to focus on mental health. So can you talk to us about any chance for common ground?
Common ground is going to be tough on this issue. I think that partisan lines are pretty clear. They've built up over the last 10 or 12 years. People are falling back to the positions that they had 2 days ago and a week ago and a month ago. And so finding some common ground may be tough. In terms of elected officials, in terms of regular people, voters, citizens, there's strong support across the spectrum for a lot of different reforms, gun control reforms like universal background checks and so on, that if we saw responsiveness from Congress, those should be easy to pass.
Now, we also were thinking today about you know, this is such a tragedy. After Sandy Hook, nothing really changed gun laws wise, but we heard the students, we heard the mom right there, students today saying something has to be done. Could this be, and it's going to take a lot in Washington, right? Could this be maybe a new day? Could a big change happen after this?
I think that it may be iterations, right? That we're slowly moving, just like a lot of other issues that might take 10 or 12 years as you see positions shift. 10, 12 years ago, Democrats were really mixed on gun control. That was not the common position of the party. They've moved, just as they did on same-sex marriage and some other issues. So I think it's possible that slow development of a movement towards some gun control or other reforms, they might take other forms, is possible.
Question for you. As we watch the coverage today, the press conferences from Broward County, Florida unfold, it was interesting to see how local leaders on the ground, we are talking about the sheriff, for example, the governor of Florida, seem to have another perspective from that boots on the ground. These events are happening in our communities. And then there's the national leaders, the national discourse and conversation. Can you explain to us what the disconnect is? Because I really saw it today.
It is interesting because, of course, there was the Congress shooting just a few months ago. You would think would have brought that home, but there's a level of abstraction for national elected figures, especially in the leadership, that may be a lot different than a sheriff at the county level or the city level, something like that. People who are dealing directly with victims, directly with families, directly with the impact on their communities, which they know is still going to be there long after national political leaders have moved on to something else.
How do you think the president looked today, the tone that he struck? He did say we will act, but he has, it's tough to unify the country during these divided times.
It is tough, and it's not really one of his strong suits, right, historically. I think today was better than the reaction to some of the previous events that we've seen. There wasn't a long delay. It didn't take 3 or 4 or 5 days to come out with a statement as it had before. I mean, we'll see how it develops over a couple of days, but this is tough for anybody in that position, but there's some real variation in terms of, you know, a Reagan or a Clinton really skilled in these situations. Trump is still learning.
Well, Dr. Nelson isn't going to go anywhere. You're going to be back in 30 minutes, and you're going to talk about any impact that this could have on the upcoming 2018 midterm election. So we're going to want to stay right with us. We'd like to give our thanks, of course, to Dr. Sam Nelson, a political science professor at the University of Toledo. Thank you. We'll see you very soon. Right now. The University of Toledo, Sam Nelson joins us again. He's an associate professor and chair of the Department of Political Science and Public Administration. So you heard right there that really powerful emotional statement from the student in particular, calling for change from a student survivor. So can you talk to us what impact, if any, there could be on the upcoming elections, including 2018, and that's a midterm year?
Yeah, I think there are a couple of things. One, this is the kind of thing that can mobilize voters who are occasional voters who don't come out all the time. Maybe they're not real political, but this is an issue they really care about, and they're emotionally connected to it. That can have a big effect because in midterm elections, turnout is everything. I think the other thing we see is about half the governorships in the country are up in 2018, and this can be a very potent local or state issue in a bunch of different states, in state races for state house and state senate.
In Congress, Republicans already have that slim majority in the Senate. Could they be in trouble if they don't move a little more toward the center when it comes to gun control? We know that's something they don't want to let go of.
Depends on the states. In rural states, gun control is really a big negative, and I don't see those senators moving towards the center. In large states, in states with large cities, that's more likely to see that kind of a move.
One thing, though, that we have spoken about before is that when it comes to this issue, voters on either side, you alluded to it, can be entrenched. Not the occasional voters, but your reliable voters. So what does this mean as far as any change on policy or results in 2018 and 2020?
One of the things voters do is they look back at past performance to try to predict what's going to happen in the future. If they're not satisfied with what the administration does in response to these shootings or what Congress does in response to these shootings, they'll hold incumbents responsible. Republicans hold the White House and Congress. They're the ones that are likely to pay the price for that.
And we will see this continue, not only the continuing coverage of the tragedy, but the political talk about this isn't going away anytime soon in the coming days, is it?
Right. Yeah, no, it's not. It's the kind of thing that's got some staying power.
And a lot of people say it should be in the limelight to get something different happening.
I think particularly if there are further school shootings, if they come up, you know, every couple of weeks or something like that. I hope not, but that keeps it a live issue.
Well, our thanks to Dr. Sam Nelson, a political scientist at the University of Toledo, always very incisive and insightful. Thank you very much.
Thanks for being here tonight, Sam.